Tonight, the crypto conspiracy, how Donald Trump and Elon Musk are using manufactured crises, political appointments, and social media to drive Bitcoin prices up to record highs and to profit from it all. That's tonight on Narativ. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Narativ. This is the very iconic moment we all remember about Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter. A much younger-looking Musk carrying a kitchen sink into Twitter headquarters and declaring, "Let that sink in." But the actual story of how Elon Musk bought Twitter began much earlier. In late 2021, Russian President Vladimir Putin reached out to Elon Musk. It was soon after that initial Putin contact that Musk quietly began to purchase shares of Twitter. The conventional wisdom around Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter is that it was an eccentric move by one very eccentric billionaire, Elon Musk. But that's not the case at all. It was actually bankrolled by an unprecedented alliance of anti-democratic forces. To be fair, 50% of the money that went to buy Twitter came from Elon Musk himself, backed by Tesla shares used as collateral. But the rest of it came from a motley crew of funds and national interest sources that were really anti-democratic in nature. $2 billion from the Saudi Prince Al Walid Fund, $500 million from Binance, that's a Chinese crypto firm, $375 million from Qatar. Dig a little further and you'll find companies that are also connected directly to the Kremlin. So companies like Vi Capital, which is operating out of the UAE these days, but is actually linked to the Russian tech investor Yuri Milner. And two New York-based firms with ties to Russian oligarchs are also among the investors. Now, of course, Vladimir Putin has been acting as the captain of this team of anti-democratic, authoritarian leaders that have been determined to bring down democracy. And it's this team which ultimately funded the purchase of Twitter. It's quite ironic that you've got these authoritarian interests coming together under the banner of free speech, only they don't have any free speech at home at all.
In a tweet, Musk wrote, "Entering Twitter HQ, let that sink in." And right there, you can see him walking into Twitter headquarters, smiling, holding a large sink. Musk also changed his Twitter bio description to read Chief Twit.
X, formerly Twitter, has lost 60% of its value since that day that Elon Musk bought Twitter. That's $25 billion gone, or you might say down the sink. As it turns out, many of those investors have been wanting their money back. Fidelity, the insurance company, had to write down $17 billion alone in losses just last year. Musk is facing pressure from angry Twitter investors who want their money back. But there's also Russian backers who expect influence in the new Trump administration and hope that Elon Musk can deliver that. Also, banks are very seriously worried about their loans to Elon Musk. And Tesla shareholders are watching their stocks swing with every Musk tweet. None of it is making anybody feel very comfortable. We know that Elon Musk used a lot of Tesla stock in order to fund the purchase of Twitter. It was used as collateral in order to raise the loans he needed to buy Twitter. But there's another big factor weighing on Tesla's balance sheet, and that is a significant amount of Bitcoin that it holds. In fact, Tesla has 10,000 Bitcoin and SpaceX has 8,000 Bitcoins on its balance sheet. So if the price of Bitcoin collapses, it would be game over for Musk and all his three companies. The same is also likely true for many of the key investors in Twitter/X. Those Russian, Chinese, Saudi Arabian companies all have very heavy Bitcoin investments. And perhaps this is the key reason why Elon Musk became such a big proponent of Donald Trump. Before the election of Donald Trump, when Bitcoin was trading at $70,000 a Bitcoin. Now take a look at what happens after the election. On November 5th, Trump wins the election. Within a week, the price of Bitcoin jumps about $20,000. You can see it here. The first red circle you see on the chart there, that's Trump's election. And then you could see this incredible surge that follows until the end of November, early December. And then the line begins to flatten out as we approach December. That's when Trump jumps back into the marketplace by making several big announcements. He says that he's going to elect David Sachs as the crypto czar. There isn't always a crypto czar, but in the Trump administration, there will be a crypto czar. And that announcement that David Sachs will be that person sends shockwaves through the entire Bitcoin community because it is exactly a signal that they're looking for, that the Trump administration will be very crypto friendly. And what follows over the next few days is several announcements, which proves exactly that, how pro-crypto Trump will be. In fact, the day after he announced Sachs's appointment, he puts out this on Truth Social. This is from Donald Trump. "Congratulations, Bitcoiners. You are welcome." Then on December 7th, Trump announces plans to recognize cryptocurrency as a commodity, not a security. That's a big regulatory change that people were looking for in the marketplace because it means that institutional investors could invest in crypto. Each announcement is amplified on X, obviously. Each amplification drives the prices even higher. And by December 15th or so, you get that Bitcoin peak price of $108,000. If you're lucky enough to own some Bitcoin, you've done really well since Trump's election because you've seen the price surge by about 50%. Let's take that 50% as a benchmark because, in fact, it is a little higher today, but Tesla's Bitcoin value has increased by $380 million. SpaceX has gained a value of $315 million. Musk's personal crypto portfolio, this is the crypto that he owns by himself, includes Ethereum and Dogecoin and other Bitcoin. So they would have seen a similar jump, about 50% gain. And this is where it gets really troubling. Donald Trump also stands to profit from all these cryptocurrency announcements. You may recall he established something called World Liberty Financial, and it was launched just before these announcements went public. The website of World Liberty Financial says it's inspired by Donald Trump. It doesn't say it is Donald Trump, but you can bet that every one of these tokens that this particular website is going to sell will benefit Trump and his family. Every time the price of Bitcoin goes up, his profits from World Liberty Financial go up as well. When the price increases from $70,000 a Bitcoin to $108,000 a Bitcoin, his profit margin at World Liberty Financial also increases by 50%. You should also take into account Truth Social's SPAC merger, which is now worth many billions of dollars. Trump owns about 78 million shares in the Trump Media and Technology Group. That's the company, it's a SPAC that owns Truth Social. Every time the price of Bitcoin goes up, so does the value of Truth Social. The market has priced the SPAC directly related to the price of Bitcoin. So now you can see that Elon Musk and Donald Trump stand to make a big fortune off the increases in Bitcoin, which is directly related to the cryptocurrency policies that Trump intends to implement in the next administration. In many ways, this creates the perfect profit cycle. Trump announces crypto-friendly policies, the Bitcoin price surges, so do the valuations of Liberty Financial and Truth Social as their stock price rises. Then he announces David Sachs as a crypto czar. Both Trump and Elon Musk are positioned well as they have a key ally to help implement these market-moving decisions. The scale of this scheme is really quite staggering. It generates billions of dollars in paper wealth for him, for Elon Musk, and the Silicon Valley oligarchy of America, these tech boy billionaires are all heavily invested in Bitcoin. This really isn't about market gains anymore or acceptance of a new currency. This is about the capture of presidential power to create personal profit. Joining me now is Olga Lautman, a senior fellow at the Center for European Policy Analysis, and she's also the owner and author of Unmasking Russia, the successful Substack blog that you should all be subscribing to. Olga, my report tonight about cryptocurrency and the involvement of players like David Sachs, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump driving up crypto prices using mechanisms we know from other authoritarian rules. It's maybe not surprising, but it is certainly shocking to see it's happening in the United States. You've had your encounters with David Sachs and others. Tell me a little bit more about your experiences with him.
So it's actually very interesting because he's coming in as the crypto czar, and Trump now has fully endorsed crypto. And you see Silicon Valley lining up behind Trump with this crypto. And what's interesting is that a lot of these, most vocal supporters who are now basically moving in to the Trump regime, with Musk even moving into the White House, have been spewing Kremlin propaganda. David Sachs is a perfect example. I honestly didn't know who he was prior to 2022. I started seeing him popping up in my feed, basically spewing Kremlin propaganda against Ukraine. This was direct Kremlin propaganda that Ukrainians are Nazis, that Ukraine isn't a country, that Russia is doing its rightful thing to protect Russian citizens. Everything the Kremlin was saying domestically, he was repeating here. So I checked his Twitter. Prior to January 2022, he never even made a mention of Ukraine. Zero. That word never came up. And then suddenly, January 2022, he puts out, tweets defending Russia when there were rumors and chatter about a potential full-scale invasion. By February, he goes full-scale Kremlin propagandist, and he hasn't stopped since. And I mean, literally for 2 years, for an American to sit morning through night putting out propaganda that matches identically to what Russia is pushing domestically across Europe and in the US, I mean, there had to be something more to the story. And I remember asking him, I got into several fights with him on Twitter over this, never got an answer. I talk about Russia and Ukraine because these are my countries. If I wake up tomorrow and start spouting propaganda about Peru, that has absolutely nothing to do with me, and this is what I put my focus on from morning to night, then there's something questionable. And that's the same questions I have for him. All these crypto dudes who basically spent the past few years, Elon was doing the same thing. The amount of insane Kremlin disinformation he was putting out about Ukraine, it was incredible. Besides the fact that we've already talked in the show of him sabotaging Starlink for critical Ukrainian missions starting in 2022. So now all these people suddenly surrounded themselves around Trump and are obviously have a field and, focus with crypto. So
It's
I'm
really
very
interesting.
curious that intersection of Russia, crypto, propaganda, disinformation,
We've seen it all before. It's interesting that within a month of Trump appointing Sachs as the crypto czar, the price went to its highest point in its history of Bitcoin. It reached $108,000 per Bitcoin, which is astronomical. It's settled a little bit, but you can tell that the market is being driven up because they know that David Sachs is going to give the crypto world everything they want. A complete free, deregulated market for them to do what they need to do. And that is what is also driving Elon Musk's support of AFD, Elon Musk's support of the conservatives here in Canada, and the attacks on Starmer and the Labour government in the UK is that those more left-leaning governments are not so in on crypto, where AFD, the Conservative Party, and the GOP are very in on crypto because it suits their interests and their pockets are lined with all sorts of corruption. What we're seeing is these attacks on democracy are really there to support the climb of crypto, which is so cynical and disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know as much about crypto. I'm not a crypto expert, but I do know that crypto has been used to move money for funding Russia for their genocidal war in Ukraine. Russia's organized crime members make payments and move money through crypto. All the Russian hackers who have seized operations inside of U.S. like Colonial Pipeline and others, if I remember correctly, they were paid ransom through crypto. So you see a lot of the ransom being paid in crypto. For instance, even the October 7th Hamas attack, Russia has a crypto exchange, Garantex, that was sanctioned by the United States. Hamas moved money through Garantex, and a good portion of that money was used to fund the October 7th attack. Crypto is basically a new form of money laundering where it's untraceable and you can move money around. You could, pay for drug trafficking, for pretty much everything that organized crime does. You can pay NGOs in the West to carry out malign influence operations for state actors.
Even Telegram has been used to hire people to do terror attacks in countries that they...
Across Europe to case out U.S. military installations, critical infrastructure in Germany, in UK, Poland, Finland. I mean, the whole Europe is under attack by Russia. They've carried out sabotage operations, and assassinations are being paid by crypto. Because on Telegram, they were attempting to hire, Russia was attempting to hire, people to assassin people in Europe that, Russia wants gone. So, I mean, this, whole convergence between crypto, and then you have here the crypto czar, and, these people who happen to be cheerleaders of the, Russia's genocidal war in Ukraine, after never mentioning. I understand if you had policy opinions, for decades or what. I mean, if you've never uttered the word Ukraine until January 2022, what happened that suddenly you start putting 10, 15, 20 posts a day mirroring Russia's disinformation domestically and across Europe?
And that timeline is so important because right there in the start of January 2022 is when Putin and Musk apparently had their connections in late 21 and going into 22. And soon after that, we saw Elon Musk transform into a real Kremlin propagandist. Now, tomorrow night, you and I have a very special event that we're doing for our premium subscribers to our Substacks and our newsletter. And it's about preparing for what is going to be quite something. I mean, there is an incoming administration here, which is unlike anything Americans have ever witnessed. It is going to be authoritarian in nature in a way that none of us can ever imagine, unless you've lived through it, and so as some of us have in authoritarian states. There's a lot to think about, a lot to prepare for, whether it's in terms of your own safety and security, what might be coming down the line from this administration, and what you can do to personally prepare, whether you're a journalist or a politician. There's certainly some things that you should be doing to prepare for this new reality that we're in. And if you're just an ordinary citizen concerned about the way things are going, it'll be an eye-opening Zoom call where we'll have a frank, open conversation about what might be coming and how to prepare. What are you hoping to share with everyone tomorrow, and what are your hopes for tomorrow?
My biggest hopes are to warn people what is coming. Trump is using identical tactics to Putin. He would turn the United States into a Russia because he wants to organize agencies to go after and silence opposition. But my biggest points I want to push for tomorrow is the resistance part. Resisting doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your whole life to fight this regime. It could be the smallest things, from joining your local communities to using art, whatever your expertise and hobbies are. I want people to change the mind frame of resisting. People sometimes think that means, planning the biggest, million-man march, where it could be small things. The whole point is for it to be consistent. So that's the biggest thing, to give pointers on how to push back, because we will have to push back.
But also always peaceful and careful, because this administration is looking for opportunities to suppress people in every way, and reacting just for reaction is never really the right way when you're dealing with authoritarian states.
We'll do so much to bring shock and awe in order to try to get people to react violently, to cross the line, so they can enforce even stricter policies. So that's why people need to remain their cool. But anyway, that will be the discussion tomorrow. For anyone who's available, please join us.
Substack or at narrative.org, to the narrative.org newsletter. If you're not yet a paid subscriber, this is a great opportunity to become a paid subscriber to either or both newsletters. If you are a paid subscriber, you're already invited, and we'll send you the link tomorrow morning. There is a registration form on our Olga Substack and narrative.org. It'll be great if you are hoping to attend, that you fill in that form by tomorrow morning, so we have a good idea of how many people are joining us. Space is limited, but if you're not yet a subscriber, there's time for you to still subscribe and join by filling in that form. We certainly hope as many of you will join us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on this special Zoom called Surviving the Trump Administration, the Essential Guide. It'll be with Olga and me tomorrow night. And thank you so much, Olga. Thanks for being here tonight. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
I wish we could freeze this week and not move forward.
It's almost guaranteed that what happens from next week onwards is going to be very, very different than any reality that we've had up until now. That's for sure.
One day, you'll tell the story of autocrats, crooks, and kings. who came for our freedom. A story of citizens who stood up to tyranny and won. The people prevailed and renewed an old vow to a more perfect union. And that was just the beginning. The story continues. Narativ, where truth lives.